Hey there guys, Spazzy Dragon here, aka Syndrems, and welcome back to episode number 2 of our insane Avorion playthrough. Still unnamed and still very much narrated over after the recording has taken place. I hope all of you had a good Christmas and the subsequent days off, because I actually had to watch through the whole hour and a half worth of video recordings just so I could remember what I actually did during my previous play session. Needless to say that this is one of the downsides in making a narration after the fact, in that the laziness or the lack of motivation is probably your worst enemy. Still, the fun continues, and as already mentioned in the previous video, our first ship turned out to be fairly functional, but functionality does not save it from looking ugly as hell, so this was my first short-term goal. I proceeded to move our ship to the nearest base that I saw, just in case we had to hire more crew members, and once I was done, I proceeded to work at the top part of the ship that was giving me the most issues. Honestly, my only problem with it was that for some dumbass reason, I had decided to stick the cargo compartment under the main module instead of expanding the ship backwards in a similar style to, say, the trains from Freelancer, or adding the containers to its sides, but instead, the starting module of ours ended up jutting out the top like someone had put some of those old-style submersibles on top of a barge. So, really, about half an hour of this Let's Play was just me trying to fix the ship visually by adding more to the top of the ship, only briefly stopping so that I could scoop up some wreckage from another recent battle. Most of these items were, of course, sold off for credits, but it was also during that moment that I realized that the ship controlled like ass. Considering that the playthrough was nearing its half point at this point, my decision on how to fix this new issue was rather straightforward. I took one of the pre-made engine designs that I had created for the rear and the front of our ship, and resized it. And then, with the self-restraint of someone who clearly has no self-restraint, I covered the sides of the barge with them, and the result was acceptable, I guess. What wasn't acceptable was the energy generation, rather, the lack of, simply because I ended up adding too many. With that in mind, the last amount of my credits that I felt like spending, considering I was going to use some of it to upgrade my mining ship later on, were used to create a few pyramid stacks of solar panels, but as it quickly turned out, for a ship this size, that really didn't make much difference. But at this point in time, I started to wonder if these pre-made items I could create can make for an overall theme for the rest of the Let's Play. I kept this thought in mind for the next time I had the chance to actually rebuild this whole ship. But for now, it was time to explore just as we mined out the first system of any notable rocks. My mining ship at this point in time didn't have any mining systems installed that would allow me to find any hidden resources, so that was also on my to-do list. Though since I wasted the time and effort to design my current ship with a cargo hold, I did end up getting a mission which involved rice delivery. Now, finding the destination wasn't really all that hard, especially since I did grab that roadmap earlier on in the playthrough, but it was this system where another pirate raid was taking place, and now I was curious. We had built up the ship pretty well, so how would it exactly perform against one of the weaker pirate raids while I was still in the outskirts of the galaxy? I was curious to see what exactly the insane difficulty of this version changed in comparison to the previous ones, and I wanted to see how much I would actually get damaged. So I added a few turrets to the ship and set off. The pirates were still active. I honestly can't tell you what I expected, but from the damage that I received versus what I could dish out, it felt very similar to the first Let's Play that we had, where I had gotten as far as Xanian. In other words, ow! I was somewhat humbled by this experience and realizing that I don't actually have enough titanium to pay for the damage I had just received, I decided to return to missions for the time being. And then this one caught my eye. This was something new. A mission to deliver a ship from one shipyard to another. A ship that was randomly generated, so it wasn't really good in the hands of a player, but the payout for that effort seemed unreasonably high. I realized why it was like that soon enough when it took nearly 10 minutes of gameplay to actually get it to its intended destination, but considering the amount of actual effort involved, most of the time was just flying in a straight line or waiting for my drive to recharge, I'd say that's perfectly fine. So much so that I actually, without thinking too much, decided to grab another similar mission from the same place, as I was very sure that I would need more time to get some more titanium anyway. But it turned out that the destination was going to take some time getting to, so at that point, my timer went off. And that's it really for part 2. Needless to say, note to self, don't focus on shipbuilding, and if you do, I probably would need a longer recording time to make the episode actually a little bit longer, but that's it. In the next episode, we are going to completely redo our main ship and create pre-designed components that we'll be using for the rest of the Let's Play, as well as see if perhaps we should try to put that cargo hold of ours to better use with some trading, something that I hadn't do in previous Let's Plays, be it single player or multiplayer. Anyway, this was Panzy Dragon aka Syndromes, Happy New Year, and I'll see you in episode 3.